So I just wanted to warmly welcome you all to this very special evening. Can you hear me at the back? You need to, yeah. A bit more. So as you could see from the flyer, these poems that you're going to hear and listen to and experience were written at the same time by myself and Rosie, following a kind of journey through 4 years basically. And we are going to interweave the poems coming from both of our voices. And some of the poems are going to have some movement, and we've got lovely Christopher here doing some music. Esther and Rosanna are dancers. And I just wanted to point out that some of you may not be familiar with listening to poetry. Some of you might be poets. I don't know. Nice to have such a variety of people here. But there's a certain density to the amount of language that you're going to be exposed to tonight. And what I would say is to really not worry about that. It's almost like allow yourself to receive the words and just see what comes to you. The poems are just going to be seamless and they will speak for themselves. But almost just let the words wash over you. And then in the middle we're going to have more of a participatory part of the evening where we're going to look at a particular reading, and we'll get a chance to kind of chew that over together. So it's really just an invitation to almost treat this as a moving meditation. And don't worry if you can't make sense of what's being said. I think that's what I'm going to say. So without any further words, we will begin. Thank you all for coming.
Hold my hand, come down to the river. Take off your shoes and walk with me. Oh, my brother, oh, my sister, sing to the water, set your soul free. Hold my hand, walk with me. Take my hand, set your soul free. Down from the mountains, all through the valleys, over the meadows and out to sea. All of our songs are carried by the water to the place where they can be free. Hold my hand, walk with me. Take my hand, set your soul free.
Shell. The seashell is crouching, folded, smooth as stone and cold to touch. She is a vacant house with no room to spare. Her core is a spinning staircase, dancing around itself. A scaffold that reveals the negative space, the hollow and the ache of ancient longing. Her surface is perfection, worn down and turned over by water, salt and grit. She has been conjured by the rough hands of the old man of the sea. The grind and wash of lifetimes has made her an alabaster treasure, hidden from the world, quiet and still. And yet, her heart whispers the song of the ocean, vast and deep, the mother of all things. She is rainbow opal and pearly blush. She shimmers with promise and waits patiently to be seen. The seashell is crouching, folded, smooth as stone and cold to touch. She is a vacant house with no room to spare. Her core is a spinning staircase, dancing around itself. A scaffold that reveals the negative space, the hollow and the ache of ancient longing. Her surface is perfection, worn down and turned over by water, salt and grit. She has been conjured by the rough hands of the old man of the sea. The grind and wash of lifetimes has made her an alabaster treasure, hidden from the world, quiet and still. And yet, her heart whispers the song of the ocean, vast and deep, the mother of all things. She is rainbow opal and pearly blush. She shimmers with promise and waits patiently to be seen.
Easter. Oh, I could slip away now. Slithery fish slither down the blue-green shimmering river. Oh, I am turning around and scaling back from upstream travel, rolling over with my dazzle of strength to be carried by the currents, to be washed into the great embrace of the ocean, where I might tumble and hide in the rupture of tides and waves, be taken by their crushing edges that say, let go, let go, let go. That day, I walked down to the edge of the little blue pond. Its contours were being caressed and celebrated by a fanfare of bright green reeds. and its water, alive with sun rays and the smell of dew and spring, was teeming with tadpoles, relentlessly wriggling their sweet heads, quivering their black tails in endless motion, like tiny hat feathers in a wind, nuzzling eagerly among the dotted light in their longing for life. What is it to wake up and know this letting go of letting go? Is it what holiness is? Or Jesus, who crossed to the further shore? We lie quiet and still, like that belly of water under the moon, and he, like the first sign of life, before we had eyes, before we knew sound, swims up into the cave, to where we are surrendered, and dare to pray. A breath in the throat, rolling away the stone of where we are asleep. A breath in the throat, rolling away the stone of where we are asleep.
He said, "What would it feel like to let someone love you?" I crumpled, coughed up a thing from inside me that had a weight to it and a darkness like nothing I'd ever known. And where his hand lay on my belly, his warmth filled the space where the dark thing had been. And a river of light broke the banks of so many fearful, narrow channels. I moved his hand now to the place where the rivers converge and all things unite in resolution, dissolving in ripples and waves and an ocean, the salty womb of the universe in the body that is me and you and all things. And then I began to know that to let someone love you, you don't get to decide what that looks like. You can only open to it and let yourself fall in.
The iced bird bath. I speak of a frozen love that coalesced around what I thought was becoming home, what I thought was warmth and feathers. You had the shape of the antique bird bath, held dripping between your fingers, and my tongue was too cold to break the ice. As you lifted the bubbled silver sheet from the carved circle of stone towards the sky, it glittered proudly like a plinth for the sun. It was formed that night, just for that day. And there was a bird singing in the birch tree, with promises that hung and hovered in the air. We are looking through a thin veil now. It is still suspended like iced water in our hands. And it creaks because it is still being born.
Still here. Say one real thing. Hold my gaze and be seen. Allow my fingers to trace the warm rivers that run under the soft, pale skin of your forearm. Let there be tenderness. Let me be so soft that it all melts and I don't remember how to say no. And I don't need to. Hold me gently. Be there still on the other side of what went wrong. And be still there. Be still. Hold my hand and say one real thing.
Spring equinox. That spring day, in a small space, not much bigger than a child's hand, there was a whole world moving. I was standing before a dusty old mirror, propped up in its gold-gilded frame, under the shade of a threshing barn. And where a cat had climbed up the glass, the mirror was patterned with paw marks, with small circles of dirt the shape of its feet. As if looking through an animal's eye, I saw grass flickering in the blustery wind beyond the beams of the old barn. The sun was flickering behind the clouds that were dancing like a masked parade, or like memories blowing across a mind. Things were touching each other and scattering apart, as if everything was being born all at once, and nothing was coherent or familiar. It was as if the years of what I once knew were lifting like layers of dust and cobweb being blown off the face of a window. Sometimes I am just a body, making sense of threads thrown together in chaos, at a time when there was no reason. I have wanted to wipe the slate clean, no more than that, to climb into its story and touch its objects and figures. Yet it has seemed each morning I wake and another veneer of dust has landed, separating me from what is really true. Maybe this is you holding me safe, God. But it feels like a restriction to seeing you or showing you who I really am. And so, as I watched this scene it began to move into a landscape of pattern and meaning, like letters joining together to form a word. And far within that gap in the dirt, I did suddenly see, as if born from before time, the light of the sun trembling on the water. And it was reaching through the glass as my breath steamed over its surface, and then, like sea mist, just floated away. And it is this light that brings us here and helps me to see you, and to you to see me, no longer reflected through a mirror, but a soul emptying itself of all its own contents to receive in itself the being it is looking at, which is you and me, just as you are, in all your truth. Not just a word, but flesh and body, you and me now opening to fall like rain, freed from the clouds of this old frame. And when I turned, there was a pathway of white, like a ship had driven across the sky. A ship that carries us when the waters rage.
Snow melt. Iceman beloved, petrified in a bed of rock. The drip, drip of snow melt tenderness falls on thirsty lips. As silent whispers of past life memories are etched in skin, infinitely retracing the geometric blueprint of God that unites both sides of the veil into love, where we resolve and remember why we came.
The mal du pays. I think we hardly knew what April was that year, or had any sense of the harness of time. It moved like an old cog, like the thud of horses snorting through white fog, while we stood stock still. All I could do with this was to come and go, making some daily vigil at this swinging gate of a cold season that revealed itself secretly in the slow hands of clocks and lost circular trails. How time moves sometimes, like broken threads woven into lists of things to do and chimes with a tone of reckoning. And yet, I did recall the smell of dusk there, and the dark lake resting like a cupped palm, within which the water seeps and glugs and flows, drinking in the night like a gigantic swollen ear. Slither of fox here, croak of frog there, sloping dash of cat, rustling scuttle of boar, hear the hoot of an owl, lollop and thud of deer, plop of muskrat there, glint of silent crane. The way the trees breathe is so lonely there, and lonely is the spring under the cold soil. It is wood, and it is beauty and the cross we must carry, and it is love tangled with pain. It is words not yet said, it is the weight of something never felt, and it is thorn in the flesh. It is a spluttering spell that requires prayer, and the same story told in scattered shapes, pushed again onto the head of a saviour, pressed down onto a pure deserted mind. But that lake, ebbing in the dark, it still listens, whether we are there or not. Its huge ear, taking in every sound that passes, and every resurrected shout at the opening of May. It remembers when we laid down in the grass, and it remembers when, at last, we spoke of grace.
Barbed heart, your words clang like a bell inside my head. sinking heat spreads, and my flesh is washed with death. This ending was never far away in my imagination, and yet, when it arrives, it is still an unexpected guest. Muddy boots tramp in the filth of a cruel world, and your cloak falls away as the truth bites the bread of the host. Now we sit opposite one another. The fire of hope flickers out. I pull the blanket around me up to my chin, but the cold is unavoidable. It creeps out from the inside, from the heavy rock of rage where my love should be. Yet still I offer the wine of my touch and shiver out a smile for the lost soul who has wandered in. A tear betrays the mask, and so he sees the little twist of glass on my cheek that says, "It does matter to me. It does make my heart pound like a drum every time you look at me. That little soft bundle you called back from death." But I will say, aye, a scratch, to anyone who asks. Because this was never meant to go deep. It was only a little riddle to solve, a harmless little question. And you told me to open, and I did. Just a crack, but it was enough for you to see through everything I put in the way. And I looked right back through you too, and saw that great big barbed heart, the bleeding truth of lost innocence, made to carry the cross of the awakening. I saw the soft, pink, sleeping beauty of your love, crowned with thorns, quietly awaiting true love's kiss.
The chariot. O phoenix that glows on the high branch, you are the spark that calls us into the depths. And to travel there, we need a chariot to take us through the breaking waves. So many questions rise and fall within me, such as, why does the heart have to break? Or why does it choose to wander, exiled and banished from the garden? And not only once, but many times. Perhaps it is only in this coming and going that all that clutters up the entrance is dismantled and washed away. The path into the forest then appears. I enter, and the ground cracks underfoot. It cracks like fire, and the wind is moving. The wind is twisting around a zest of leaves, and the chariot stands ready on its wheels. It is ready to race where there is no fear. No fear of dark or haunting shadows. To sit in the chariot as it creaks and sways is to be in the temple where all is smelt. Its burnt wood smells of the story of war. And as I stand in the cradle of salvaged wood, I imagine a pair of gleaming white horses, me, an armored warrior, charging into battle, life can ask us to cross impossible seas. The chariot blazes like a fresh imagination. It crosses over where chasing monsters drown. Like the journey of the prophet with his rod, its promise carries me over on dry land. To find these depths is to enter a kingdom where everything unheard is listened, and all that separates comes together, like the vision of Blake riding towards the sun. Where do you plan to go now, O chariot? When I close my eyes around these miracles, I feel you sweetly rumbling over the earth, and I dream of the places you will take me.
White gates. I am at the white gates again. I turn away, walk a stiff stutter of steps into the arms of nothing. Your arms are there, behind the gates, beyond the shift of reality that would carry me across the moat, across the divide, the dark split in the ground where the water is deep. Too deep to fathom, too dark to see, too far to cross, too much of a risk of losing myself in the underworld of all that you hide, from sight and sound, and from a lover's touch. I see your chest from where I stand, on the other side of misted glass. I know that chest. That great cavern that chimes with the echo of the birds of your heart and the shuddering clap of thunder that is your laugh. That chest feels like the cave in my dreams, the one where I dwell on the mountainside, in my right place, where I can see all of life stretched out below as I walk the steady path home. Back to certainty and hot soup and a soft bed. That chest is blazing now, with the white heart fire that burns my cheeks. But the gates are shut. They open too late, sometimes not at all, and close in haste when I approach. I'm still here, you say. But a woman knows when the gates of her beloved's heart are closed. I wonder, who will pass the test, cross the moat, stand under the rain of boiling oil, pierce the veil of the fisher king and ask the question, what ails thee? I turn away, walk a stiff stutter of steps into the arms of no one. And I hear your heart cry out, but it says nothing. first half, and we have different section now, which involves all of you. And we're going to pass around a bowl. It has some bread and oil and salt, and that's for you. You can take a piece. It's a way of entering into it all together, for us all to share a sacrament. The themes, you might have noticed, there's a lot of earth, ocean, and spirit. So we're bringing those elements together. And we're going to look at a piece of writing together, which was not written by Rebecca or I, but she will introduce that and what this is. Does everybody have a small piece of paper for the lections that is on the chairs? If you don't have the piece of writing, there are a couple of extra sheets on the table with books.
See? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just to give a bit of context to this, Rose has hinted at it, but I think there's a certain reason why this symbol came to be significant to both of us. Not exactly sure how or why, but it seems like a kind of center point and a meeting point about all the poems that we've been sharing. And this is the symbol of what is known as the nun, which has a great symbolism in many spiritual traditions, but it also represents this gap between the two ends, which is, I guess you might have felt through some of the poems, we're really exploring that space, the kind of rupture or the gap between things. So that's pretty much the first half. And this reading that we're going to share, we're going to read this together as a kind of reflective, participatory reading. I'm inviting you to, of course, it's optional. And this is known as it's a tradition called Lectio, or Lectio Divina. And what this invites us to do is to go into the reading. We're going to read it a couple, 3 times maybe, and to really use this as a reflective exercise where we kind of enter into the text, and we're invited to kind of notice what words or phrases might stand out to you. So I'm going to read it the first time, and there's an opportunity for anyone to say a word or phrase that stands out to them. It'd be lovely to kind of hear your voices. And then I'm going to read it again, and then that's an opportunity if anyone would like to respond and say why that word or phrase stood out to them. What I would say is, as we're kind of chewing this text over, is that there's a feeling that this piece of writing allows what we're reading tonight to kind of ripple out into some of the situations in our lives and in the world that we know we feel impacted by on some level. You know. So the truth that's coming through the poems has a universal truth. Okay, I'm going to read it first time and invite you to follow. The letter Nun in Arabic has the meaning of a whale or a great fish. In Hebrew, Aramaic, and Phoenician, the letter Nun is related to a fish or a snake. In Arabic, the prophet Jonah is called Shun Nun, and of course the fish was one of the earliest symbols used by Christians to identify themselves. More recently, it has become to symbolize the persecuted Arab Christians, the Nazarenes. In the story of Jonah and the whale, like a pearl hidden in a shell, is Jonah's prayer. It is one of the most powerful poetic expressions of death and resurrection found anywhere. So Nun is composed of an underlying half circle with a point in its center. It is an arc in which the point, the divine spark, or logos, hides. The Islamic crescent is a waning crescent, the last moon, and the seal. It is what finishes, what closes up, what completely fixes the logos. Love to hear any words that stand out to you.
Completion. Completion. What?
Yeah, thank you. Completion. Yeah, thank you.
Pearl.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Divine spark.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Fixes.
snake.
Shell. Divine spark.
Nazarene.
Yeah.
Moon.
Hidden.
Logos.
Death and resurrection.
Infinite.
Underlying.
Powerful.
Ark.
Jonah's prayer.
So we'll read it again, Rosie. And then, yeah. And then you're invited to extrapolate, if you'd like to, on why those words or phrases stood out to you.
The letter nun in Arabic has the meaning of a whale or a great fish. In Hebrew, Aramaic and Phoenician, the letter nun is related to a fish or a snake. In Arabic, the prophet Jonah is called Dun-Nun, and of course the fish was one of the earliest symbols used by Christians to identify themselves. More recently, it has come to symbolize the persecuted Arab Christians, the Nazarene. In the story of Jonah and the whale, like a pearl hidden in a shell, is Jonah's prayer. It is one of the most powerful poetic expressions of death and resurrection found anywhere. Nun is composed of an underlying half circle with a point at its center. It is an arc in which the point, the divine spark or logos, hides. The Islamic crescent is a waning crescent, the last moon and the seal. It is what finishes, what closes up, what completely fixes the logos.